You gonna ask me if this is a remix again, John? John, that looks like... What are you doing? That looks like fucking... What is that?
Come on.
What is the tech bro thing? Soylent?
It's not fun. No, it is blue though. It's delicious. Gross.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. You might say a blasphemous episode, John. Pretty excited. Joining me tonight... Oh, sorry. We're here to talk about Immaculate, starring Sydney Sweeney. And joining me tonight, first up from Manhattan, New York City, please welcome John Schnars to the show.
Hey.
John, is this review going to hurt your standing with the church this evening?
I think we'll be fine. My standing was poor. So.
Poor. Next up from the bucolic Pacific Northwest, please welcome Ariel to the show.
Hello.
And last up tonight from Indiana, he's our resident Lovecraft fan. Apropos of nothing other than that we were talking about on Slack today. Please welcome Casey to the show.
Hello.
John, did you know H.P. Lovecraft was racist?
I mean, you just like tell me what year he was writing, and you would guess that he's racist, right? I mean,
early 1900s. So
Yeah.
Good bet. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're back. We went to the theater this week. I went to actually, John, a nice theater this week with proper projection, and it kind of like blew my mind. Like
treated yourself.
I might stop going to the haunted mall. The only reason I went is because they were the only one with like the playtime that I could go.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Did you get because you were in the afternoon? Did you get it for 25% off or what? Did
no,
you do
it was
one of those?
whatever. I'm sure it was like $13, some ridiculous whatever inflation is for. It's random. I feel like when I go to buy a movie ticket now, it's a surprise. I never have any idea how much they're going to charge me, and a lot of places won't even. A lot of.
Oh.
Sorry, allergies. A lot of places won't even do matinees anymore.
Well, so
Like-
we were talking about this. AMC doesn't do anything before noon, I don't think, at least not in the city. But I think anything before 3 p.m. they list as 25% off. Some of
Like
them are like 30.
if I can
It's
get
crazy.
an 11 a.m. or like an 11:15 a.m., that's the dream.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
the best
The
time.
the only
Totally agree.
problem with that is like I get up a little late on the weekends. I eat a giant breakfast. I take in a lot of liquids immediately upon
Like
waking
how
up.
late are we talking? You get up? Like 11 is pretty
Like
late.
by the time I get up and get moving and then do my whole breakfast routine and drink all my liquids, like it's probably time to go to the movie. So I have just loaded myself with like liters of fluid and caffeine, and then I'm like sitting in a movie theater. Like it was a little bit of a problem at this point.
I feel like with Immaculate, you would have been fine. We got a
It's
brisk
so short.
It was pretty
88
brisk.
minutes or whatever it was. It's,
Thankfully,
Yeah.
thank God. Yeah. That's why another reason why I need a clean 90, John.
there you go.
All right, let's
The
do it. Let's
liquids.
take a quick break and review Immaculate.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
It's funny that I keep almost forgetting the name of this movie, John. Did you know that the name of my church growing up was the Immaculate Conception?
It's a very popular church name, I believe.
There you go. I should be able to remember it. John.
Mm-hmm.
Words.
Yes. I didn't know I thought you were going to blow past it, but there you got it. You nailed it down.
There's a lot of them in the Bible.
It's
So I'm
long.
told. Yeah.
You've never looked. You've never
Like
counted.
most books, haven't read it, but I hear it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word is pristine. That's Pristine. Pristine.
Love
There's
it.
two
I had a
meanings.
bet going on with somebody on Instagram as to whether or not you were going to do Immaculate.
I might have already done it. I didn't look, but I was like, I can one up that. in its original condition, unspoiled. And then the second definition, clean and fresh, as if new, spotless. Yeah, pristine. It comes to us from the Latin pristinius, which means former.
That
Sorry,
sounds like
I
a
can't
Harry
see
Potter
because
spell.
my ring light. It does sound like a. You're right. That would be a good. Pristine.
Love it. What does that have to do with this movie? And tell me about it.
Well, it's a synonym for immaculate. That's where I got it from, anyway. Um,
No, I understand how you got to the word, John. What does that have
Sure.
to do with the movie? I
well,
get the A to B to C.
okay. I mean, I was just answering directly the question you asked. Immaculate.
How
As
long
you
have we
mentioned,
been doing this, John? This is episode like 760 something, right?
Yeah, it might be in the 50s, but
You're
sure.
fucking with me at this point.
Immaculate comes to us from director Michael Mohan. I was giving him a quick look. I didn't he's done some other movies, but this was kind of the first thing to hit our radar for sure. And it stars Sydney Sweeney, as you mentioned, which is a big reason I think that this thing not only like got made, she is listed as a producer, but it is also a reason that it got the release that it got and that it performed, the way it performed. Apparently, so Neon released this thing. They there's some of the I haven't seen one, but there's like billboards where her name is as big as the title, or like virtually as big as the title, which is amusing. It's not many stars getting that treatment anymore. So. But yeah, so Sydney Sweeney plays Cecilia, Sister Cecilia. She is in the beginning of the movie. She is a
Excuse
novice.
me, John. It's Cecilia.
Cecilia. She is a novice traveling from the United States because her convent where she was like sort of in training or whatever is being shut down. She has been recruited to join this sort of like remote convent in northern Italy. This convent was established to provide a home and care for aging nuns. So it's basically like where nuns go at end of, it's like hospice for nuns. So she's like a recruit. The film kind of, I mean, there's like a little prequel or, an opening scene, we should say, where we see another young nun trying to escape and being captured. So we know there's some untoward things happening at this convent. We are pretty sure. But Cecilia, she shows up. She is initiated. So she becomes a sister. She has a friend named Gwen, who's like sort of her neighbor. She's Italian. Cecilia speaks no Italian, but there's like a handful of other people who speak English. So there's a lot of the movie that is like in subtitles. One just quick aside, it was very odd to me that we, the audience, were getting the subtitles when they were speaking to Cecilia, but like she didn't know, like we're seeing the movie through her eyes, but like we know what they're saying and she doesn't. But then other times they weren't translating because the person would then translate for her. I don't know. It was some interesting decisions being made there, but she and her friend are just like going about their time. There's the father who has recruited her. His name is Saltades, Father Saltades. He's like a young priest who has like arrived at this convent after having previously been a doctor. And that's sort of like the setup that we get. And the rest of the action of the movie hinges on the fact that Cecilia, pretty soon after arriving, immaculately conceives a child. And this is scary both to her
What
and
does that mean, John? Explain the birds and the bees to me, please.
I mean, you don't have to because
there were no,
They're
there
not
were
involved.
no
they're
bees
not
in this
involved.
situation.
Yeah,
Gotcha. That's the whole point.
she is carrying the savior, and so immediately the convent sort of like goes into sort of like protection mode. Like, oh my God, we can confirm and verify that she is chaste which is one of her vows. But she is pregnant, and therefore she is carrying what they believe to be the sort of like reborn or, returned savior, I guess. I don't know that that's exactly how it happens in the Bible, but they're excited about it. She's
Love
not, though. She increasingly becomes a problem.
Right, and we can talk about it, but like they don't care about her at all. That kind of becomes a main
No.
theme, that like it's about entirely about the baby.
Are you
Oh, yeah.
familiar with the pro-life movement, Eric? Or
I am, John. Yeah. No, I understood. I understood what was happening. All right, let's talk about it. Casey, what'd you think?
So this is one I did not watch the trailer for before going in. I went in kind of blind. I'll be honest with y'all. I was a little dense on this one because going into this movie, Immaculate, I just kind of assumed it was going to be another boring possession movie. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's why they named it Immaculate. So I went into this really blind and cruising through there, and I ended up liking this a lot by the end of it. This movie is very slow at the beginning. You got to have some patience, I think. It's got to build up some steam. But man, once that steam is up and going, it really goes overboard. There's some place through, when I was watching it, I couldn't figure out if it's the second or third act. So I'm just going to call it the second trimester because that's the section of the movie it was in. This movie makes like a hard right and goes nuts. And I was literally slack-jawed for a little bit of it as it started to unwind. I'd never really... The angles that they approach this at in this movie, I had never really seen before. And I think it's kind of brave of them to go after it. And I was kind of down for it.
Yeah, Ariel.
So I'm not quite as thrilled about it as Casey, unfortunately. I have a little bit of mixed feelings. I think this movie is fun. I think that Sydney Sweeney is great. She does a really good job of being very innocent and naive in the beginning, and then, kind of as she finds out more, standing up for herself, which is great to watch. But okay, so the themes here are pretty obvious, right? It's all about like women's bodily autonomy. And as somebody who is like frequently filled with feminine rage, that part of it spoke to me personally.
Yeah.
And so I loved the ending, and I think there's a lot of like fun, gory bits in there. But I also think that it's a little bit
Excuse me.
underbaked. And the themes are pretty surface level. Like, it seemed like they wanted to kind of play with like high concept ideas and themes, but really didn't know what to do with them in the end, other than just the sort of obvious. So I wish that had been done a little bit better. I also think the movie veers into like nunsploitation a little bit, especially in like that bathing scene. And I thought, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Wait, which bathing scene?
right. There are multiple. I thought that that's the direction it was going to go in. And frankly, I kind of wish it had
That
done
could
like,
be a pro.
yeah, for sure.
I wasn't gonna not watch another bathing scene.
Yeah, that's fair. But I thought it was going to go in a more like bonkers direction. And there's a couple moments we can talk about where it sort of does do that. But I think I just wish they had either like leaned in or not had that at all.
John's just a fan of hygiene. That's what it's about.
It's true.
Of course.
I was so curious, and I should have looked this up for the show, but I forgot. Do nuns really bathe in outfits like that?
So I read an interview with Sydney Sweeney and the director, and Sydney Sweeney was saying that like she doesn't mind doing nude scenes in movies. She's done them before. Even with this director, they did the movie Voyeurs together, and I think she was topless in that. But she said it has to like make sense for the plot. And so they were saying that what made sense would be that these women would never be like completely nude. Mm-hmm. They would have worn something to bathe in. Like they called it a bathing gown.
It's totally possible.
Mm-hmm.
I truly was just like, is that a thing nuns do? I no, like literally no idea.
Yeah.
John, what'd you think?
I had a great time with this movie. I sort of agree with both Ariel and Casey, but like they just nailed it in the end for me in a way that I was just like, hats off. Like, great work. This is
I get that.
There's some like kind of medium baked to underbaked bits for sure. This whole like sequence where she's in the room. A big part of this movie, or a big part of a big piece of the early part is we don't know if this is like to Casey's point, like a possession, or like is this like a Rosemary's Baby situation and she's like actually carrying the devil or whatever. We don't know what's going on. It's actually revealed, and I mean we should just lay down blanket spoiler, like I liked that this is more real and like corporeal. Like it's not, the premise is like there's some stuff around like science and religion and yada yada yada, but like this movie does not presume any fantastical elements. Ultimately, I mean, there's like some in the science, I guess, but yeah, like so there's like all this like, is it whatever? Is there some fantastical thing happening? There's this bit where a painting falls off the wall. I can't remember why, or it's like hanging askew, and then there's like the Bible verse that's like written down, and she goes and like looks at, like, there's moments like that where it felt a little padding like they were just trying to like give you some head fakes. There were some goofy jump scares. Like there's the bird jump scare, which in retrospect makes very little sense because the bird jump scare is there to sort of like make you think there's evil afoot, and there is evil, but it's all human evil, right? Like, so there's stuff like that that's like whatever. All of it is fine. The movie is very short. It feels very, I mean, it's not very short. It's like a very tight 90. It's a little under a 90, I would say. And so like that stuff flies by, and then you get into the, like, once you're into the plot and you sort of like know where all the players are, it's sort of like midway point through the end of the movie. It's like a headlong rush. And I thought because you all had texted like, oh, that was really crazy what happens in the third act. And I had thought that I had seen all of the crazy stuff happen. And then the like real crazy stuff happens at the very end. And I was just like, oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's one of those movies that like, I pretty much agree with everything that's been said so far. I'm super on the pro side. It, I think, has airs. It's kind of the perfect lane for me, which is that it's a little artsy. Like it's got like one toe in the art house, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's a genre movie. Like it's, but it really is trying to mix it up so that you don't know what's gonna happen. And really like it. If anything, I think it really shows how just tired and lazy those Nun movies are, because like,
Oh God.
you know,
yes.
one thing that it does really well is, or much better than the Nun movies, right, is make Sydney Sweeney a character. Like, name one character trait about
The Nun.
Taissa Farmiga in The Nun. She's mousy. Like, I don't know. Like, we've seen 2 of those movies. I couldn't tell you. Like, who
She
that
can like see she's like clairvoyant or something.
Yeah, I don't know. But like, you know, there's a backstory here, and I don't actually think that I like Sydney Sweeney a lot. Obviously, she's still young and she's still like, I think, kind of coming into her own as an actress. She's not always like 100% solid here. Like sometimes you feel that, I think, her youth a little bit there. Like, I don't know. She doesn't always feel solid, but she's, I think, compelling on the screen. And the funny thing that this movie does is like, when it takes that third act turn, you're like, oh, this is like a fucking genre movie. Hell yeah, dude. Like, I was like, am I watching Don't Breathe again? And then I was like, wait, who made this movie? Was it the Don't Breathe guy? Because that would be really weird if he just keeps making movies about impregnating someone that doesn't want to be impregnated. But no, it's not him. That was just where my brain went. It's really solid, and the third act is bananas, and I can't wait to talk about it because I have questions. Like, they make some really interesting choices in the third act, and it's pretty shocking to see that final scene in a theater. I mean, 20 years ago, this movie would not have made it into theaters.
So I saw this
Yeah.
movie. It was me and 4 high school age girls that were sitting like 2 rows behind me, and they were generally being well behaved. Like, they weren't. It wasn't like a lot of like chit chat or anything.
Just like, guys, we love Sydney Sweeney. Let's go see this movie.
But when the shit started to go off, they were like, "Whoa!" Like there was a lot of
That's
exclaiming
awesome.
happening. It was good.
You know,
It was nice.
Again, like it lives and dies by the craziness. But there's also some really smart tense scenes. One that comes to mind is when they discover that she's pregnant. We don't know what's happening yet, right? We know the movie's named Immaculate, so like you're starting to put it together in this scene, but they're grilling her in a way that makes it seem like she's guilty of something. Like they're
Right.
Yeah.
They think
interrogating
that she
her
slept around.
because she did sleep with somebody, and that's how she's reacting to it. And there's great tension in that scene because you don't know anyone's motives yet. That's a really great way that they're sort of playing the actual plot against the audience a little bit. And that would feel completely different on a rewatch, which I think is really interesting about that too. I also love this scene where she fakes like a miscarriage basically
Yeah.
because she's trying to get out of this compound to get taken to a hospital so she can tell somebody what's going on. I will say you're gonna go through all that trouble and you don't hide the chicken head. Like, come on, dude. Like, just sticking.
Yeah.
There's
I
Well, it was
agree.
the whole
It
chicken
was
body.
sloppy.
but like
Yeah,
you
it was
couldn't have
like-
put that somewhere that was a little harder to find. But then again, that whole scene of like,
Hold on, just my favorite part of that scene is when the fucking Mother Superior takes the blankets and like puts them
That's
on
a
her
great
face.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
my
And
lord,
she's
I
so
was
like
like, what?
enraptured by it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
but then
Oh,
like
it's so
the back
wild.
and it's edited really well. The back and forth where they're in the car rushing to the hospital. She's essentially putting in an act on, and you are slowly coming to the realization that she's putting an act on, and you figure it out a few beats before everyone else figures it out. So then that tension's ratcheted up. Then there's the phone call, and slowly he tells the guy to stop the car, and they chase her through the field. Like I
That
mean,
shot. That shot.
That's not even like the most shocking thing by far in the movie, but it's a really, really tense scene.
That shot when she's in the back seat and you can see through the windows that they're starting to slow down. That was a pretty
Yeah.
chilling moment.
Yeah. I was gonna say, Eric, you mentioned like there's like an art house scene and stuff. I know what you are saying. I think this movie is very well shot. Like the cinematography
I
is
just
really
mean
solid.
it feels like at some point there were aspirations of shooting above something like The Nun, and I think at moments they achieve it, and then at other moments it's like, oh, this is a genre movie. But
Well,
it's
I
like,
was
just-
but it in a way that makes it to me way more intriguing than something like
Yeah,
The
I was
Nun.
just gonna put that on mostly the like scenery and the set design and the like
It
location.
looks nice.
It's
Yeah.
gorgeous, and I do think it is well. I think the movie is very well shot.
I think also there are some moments where like the visuals are pretty striking that made me think it was going in like an art house direction,
Oh.
like Eric is saying, like the one where she's dressed up like the Virgin Mary and there's just like tears streaming down her face.
Yeah.
Like that's actually a legitimately beautiful shot
Th-
and a silly
that-
movie, you know?
Yeah,
That shot to me makes the movie. Like,
Yeah.
And it's the framing and the costume work. But, you know, I always said, like, she's not always, her performance isn't always solid. But wordlessly is incredible in that scene. Like, the look on her
Yeah.
face
Yeah.
is so perfect. And everyone is looking up at her and the lighting. It's just gorgeous.
no, Eric, I agree with you. Like Sydney Sweeney, uneven. I would say. I think the first act asks her to do a lot that she just like gets over the line.
Yeah. Well,
She
here's
won
what-
me. She won me over in the final scene though. Like the screaming.
yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah,
this is
she's
what I
great.
really like about her. You
Wow.
were saying she was involved in the production of this.
Well, she was one of the producers. Yeah.
Like it's very she seems to be very actively, again, like not necessarily, people want to make her a sex symbol, right, because of the way she looks. And like you were saying, Ariel,
You
like,
wouldn't do that though.
she doesn't refuse nude scenes, but she also is very clearly like pushing against the people that want to typecast
Yeah.
her and taking really difficult roles.
Yeah.
Like she just did that. There was a series that she just did where she plays a woman who unwittingly like becomes a spy or something like that.
No, it's another movie. That was
As a TV show, I thought. Or well, no, it was like a streaming movie.
yeah, but
can't
it
remember the
it
name
was
of it.
what's it has like a weird name in any event.
But
It's
I
based
just
on a true
like-
story.
I like the choices that she's making because I think she's really putting herself out there and trying to control her own narrative when everyone else is trying to write it for her, which I think is really admirable.
Well,
As an
didn't she
artist.
kind of? Isn't the story that she came up with like a PowerPoint presentation and like to convince her parents to let her become an actress that, you know, and to
Oh,
go and
funny.
do the Hollywood thing because she, you know,
That
she
is
came up with a
funny.
plan and like a business plan. It's like this is how I'm going to do it.
It's totally possible.
Yeah.
I want to just say that I loved basically all the other actors. My guess is they just like got like cast of some other Italian show or movie that none of like I didn't recognize almost any of these people. The one younger nun who is trying to escape in the very beginning is
It's
in White
from
Lotus.
White Lotus.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
from a
she's
season where they're in
in-
Italy.
Yeah. Otherwise, like the father, like the sort of like evil father. I mean, all of the priests and whatnot are evil, I guess. But the
Yeah.
main one, the sort of the bishop or whatever he is, the mother superior. I just thought they were all great. Like they're all character actor types, but and they're speaking Italian, so I can't. Maybe I'm just not evaluating their performance.
Yeah, I mean,
effectively.
I thought they were good as sort of these like authority figures and, that had like a bit of kindness to them in the beginning. And then when it gets to the end and they go kind of like mustache twirly villainous, it's really fun to watch.
So
Yeah.
did we get to the plot twist fully?
No.
No,
So
no,
what
we
we
haven't.
what we discover is I do appreciate though about this movie and the Nun movie the focus on relics. I will say the Nun kills it in the creepy relic. Like the last one had like
The whole
great
point of the
Yeah.
friggin' series of nun movies. Yes.
But in here, what we find out is that they have the like dagger. They claim that they have the dagger that like stabbed Jesus on the cross, right?
It's one of the nails. It's the nail
Yeah,
from
it's
his
It's a
nails.
crucifixion nail.
Is it a nail? Okay. And
Yeah.
then we find out that
one of the daggers.
well, no, because he's also
We got him.
he's got this thing here.
Well,
right?
they spear
was
him.
a
That's a
spear.
spear.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine, John. Whatever. I didn't know you were a fucking Catholic scholar. I apologize. So, what this guy has done, they were able to. This is the twist. He has genetically sequenced. They found blood on it that they sequenced, and now they have been. He specifically picks out these young women to bring to the monastery to try to impregnate them with the son of our Lord. John.
Yeah, it's a Jurassic Park thing,
It's Jurassic Park. So we find this out. Do we find out at the same time as her? It's like in a rifle gun, right? From,
Yeah.
Basically. She finds.
I love too the idea that he's doing this complicated gene splicing, and again, like in movies, these labs always there's no lights. It's like candlelight and everything's dusty.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is not how science happens.
Well, and he gives the speech about he's like this. They wouldn't let me do this in science, but the church has their prerogatives or whatever. Like because he had said earlier that he was working as a scientist or as a doctor and had sort of like left it after 20 years.
Yeah.
And you think it's because he benevolently like, wants to come be a priest, I guess, but low.
So that's
Yeah.
the point in the movie where you're like, oh, it's this kind of movie. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Go
I
on.
appreciate that guy was kind of he was obviously kind of suspicious from the very beginning, I think, from when he first showed up, but then as he leaned into the villain character in that second half, I thought he had the right amount of camp for it.
Yeah.
Very
I just thought he
campy,
was a great
yeah.
fit.
Totally.
Well, it's
And
funny
I-
too.
I
There's
like
the
the-
one younger nun who knew about this because she was hoping it was going to be her. And then
Well,
says
she's
to
like,
her,
yeah, she's like a middle manager
Puppeteer.
nun.
A
Yeah, she's like,
Manager.
she's like in charge of some of the other nuns. And yeah, she's very jealous because and so like you were asking, do we find out at the same time as her? We are sort of like finding like that scene happens and you're like, wait, what? Or and she's taken aback. There's also she sees that there's the like pamphlet or satchel of information about her that she like wave in front of her at one point, and she goes to like find it, and in there's like sequencing. I don't know. There's like deep pictures of DNA.
Yeah,
I don't know
DNA
that would have been in someone's file, but so that's when we sort of are like, it's unclear she's exactly put it together at that point, but we kind of
Yeah. I really did like that death scene too, because it's so over the top and so bonkers. And that's when I thought for a second time that they were going to go full like modern take on 70s nunsploitation. Because I mean, when the body turns over and her face is just like
mangled.
yeah, it's just like hamburger meat with eyeballs. Like it was really good.
well, it's what's interesting the way the movie sets up the finale is like he's the last of the sort of like villains alive. She kills him, and you're like, well, what happens now? And then you find out what happens. Because there's a question. I mean, I think in the audience's mind, it's not necessarily spelled out explicitly until the end of like, well, I mean, clearly, John, this whole endeavor is how you make a demon baby, right? Like they think they're making Jesus, but like probably not. But that's not really explicitly said. But she says at some point, like, this is not of God or whatever, and she's starting to freak out and like just think things are off. And basically, after she kills the guy, we see her like she wanders through the tunnels, right, and then she makes it outside. Because there's a catacomb. That's so like that's where
it's
the
the,
final
it's the
fight
tomb
happens.
of Saint Stephen.
She
I
makes
loved
it
her
out.
stabbing the guy with the Jesus nail too. That was pretty
Yeah.
great and satisfying.
See, I was surprised because I thought the whole point of her taking that was so she could burn it in the fire. So when she still had it, I was like, wait, what? But, whatever.
So she makes it outside, and then basically we watch her. This scene lasts like, it felt like 10 minutes, but maybe it was 5. We watch her, we don't watch her, it's off screen, it's half off screen, give birth. And then the baby is making, you don't see the baby at all. There's no shot. I think that's an interesting choice because it leaves it up for interpretation, but it was making some noises that I would not associate as
There
baby
was
noises,
one.
which made me
There was
think,
one
like,
blurry shot.
demon baby.
Yeah.
Wait, do you get a shot of the baby?
You get a blurry
It's-
shot where you
it's
see
behind her.
movement. Yeah, behind
Oh,
her.
The
But
background,
you don't actually
like,
see
out of,
it.
I didn't
like, out of
even
focus.
catch that.
And
Okay.
then she like picks up a big rock and like
Yeah.
throws it.
And that's
Again,
it.
you don't see
Credits.
it. Like it's all just like like you see her do it, but it's all just audio and like, and then the credits roll. And
Yeah.
I was like,
So the
Damn.
baby noises, it never cries,
right.
which is like, I've been at some births and like the babies cry, like it's
Yeah.
normal. And then there's obviously like, and we see this in other movies,
Also
like the baby.
low sound, like
Well, it was like
low-pitched
there were like
sounds.
animal noises, is what I was saying.
Yes.
Like there was
Yes.
definitely some level of like animal noise that they were using in Foley there. To
It made
like,
me think of like The Omen, like when they
Yeah.
dig up that baby that was like half goat or something,
Yeah.
or not, whatever that was.
And I think they already kind of
No,
set
wasn't
us
that
up
lamb?
to...
Just ignore me.
Okay.
like, what movie
There was
is that?
something in that movie where they dig like up a goat or something, and they're like, "This was Damien's father" or something like that. I don't know.
But they set it up for us to kind of think that there could be something like really, really wrong with the baby, because that entire science lab is just filled with like jar after jar of deformed
Yes.
fetus because
Yeah.
they
That
have no
lab-
idea what they're doing and they keep getting it wrong.
That lab scene is what makes this movie to me. I love this,
Yeah.
like the weird Catholic mad scientist aspect to
It
it
was
that
so
they throw in here.
Frankenstein.
Yeah. But that's why I also say I can't believe they went forward with it too. Is those babies in the jar? Because you think of, in the context of those movies, there's multiple dead babies in jars in various forms of mutation, and in the context of this movie, that's all Jesus. I
Well,
can't
and
believe
I-
people aren't freaking out about that.
Yeah, it's like the hypocrisy, right? It's like
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I mean, I think
point of
that's-
so much of it.
Oh yeah,
Part of it for sure.
Because then, really, I mean, the huge point of the movie, I think, not a point, but like a thing they really hammer in and keep coming back to is the idea that like she means nothing to them, and that, like they basically,
Yeah.
like,
I mean,
once she's pregnant, it's like they own her.
Yeah, she's just a vessel. She has zero bodily
vessel.
autonomy. Everything is controlled by them. She gets no say in it, and they don't care if she lives or dies at the end. Like, it makes no difference. She's just there to be an incubator.
which was expertly set up when they were doing that harsh questioning of her there when she first got sick at the bath. In that next scene when they're, have you had intercourse? Have you done this? Have you done that? That really set up that was like a perfect setup to where they ended up going.
Casey, it's not intercourse, it's Congress with a man.
Yeah, sorry.
Congress.
Yeah.
I like that. I
didn't mean to be so risque.
No, I mean, I like all of that stuff, all of the theme. I think that, it's a good setup, and especially in like a post-Roe world, it's very satisfying that all these men who have power over her body are slaughtered by her hand in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's pretty great. I just think like they didn't, it like tries to tread this line. I think what Eric was sort of saying about the art house versus the kind of bonkers malignant style movie, where they try to go like deeper with the theme but aren't necessarily
Yeah,
that great
I
at
actually-
doing it successfully.
I actually
so.
totally agree with you. I think it's taking a huge swing and it's
Mm-hmm.
successful like 60% of the time or something.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess the thing I would say though is I would prefer this version than a version where they like there's 10% more dialogue and the dialogue sucks. Like or
Oh,
like,
well, I mean, nobody wants sucky dialogue. Of
no,
course.
but like I think there's a version where there's like I because how do you, I don't know, like you could try to like pull some of that stuff through in a more thought through way, but I don't know, it also could take away from some of what makes the movie so fun at a certain level.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I can see that for sure. And there is a line where somebody asks, like, "Do you believe in God?" And the other person says, "Of course I do. Like, life is so cruel. Only a man could be responsible."
Yeah.
And, like,
Well, that's
I mean,
that's
frankly,
Gwen.
it's a
That's the
yeah, that's
yeah,
Gwen.
her
That's
friend.
right. Yeah, it's a great line. I mean, it's a little cheesy and cliche, but it's a fun line.
Yeah. No, I like the movie. It has a very strong sort of economy to it. Like it's tight, and like that Gwen character, they get a lot out of her because basically every conversation she's having, her story
Yeah.
about how she got there, and then sort of like what happens to her when she sort of freaks out and starts like yelling about how something's wrong. We get whether or not that's nunsploitation, what's happening where they cut her tongue off, like that's a pretty gruesome ass
It
tongue
is.
cut
That
off
is.
scene.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
that's
the
what's so
tongues.
fun. Like the
Jesus, I
violence is
forgot about
really
that.
fun in this
Yeah,
movie.
they're not messing
Yeah,
around.
and also just like Gwen's reactions to like how the other nuns are treating her too, like in that scene where she walks through the cafeteria or whatever it is. Like I think there's not any real dialogue there, but it tells you a lot about like what's going on and how people are feeling about it.
Yeah. I love the little vignettes that they stuck in there with the groups of worshiping nuns, especially when like they had the red face going. I
The
loved
red
how that
face
popped
was
up.
cool. I wish they had done more with that because I thought it was really creepy and like a
Yeah.
really cool visual. Like the scene where they're up in the window after the woman like kills herself, supposedly, quote unquote. I thought that was like a little bit chilling, and I almost wish there had been more done with that. And I think it's another one of those like red herrings where you're like, okay, so is it actually like a cult that believes in devil stuff, and that's where it's gonna go? And
Well, because there's the piece in the very beginning when she first gets there and she goes down the basement and there's like the woman laying on the floor who's got the red mask on and she's like praying but laying in like a crossfire. Those are the head fakes things where you're just like, all right, like whatever. I mean, ultimately it doesn't matter one way or the other, but it's a little wacky.
And I do appreciate as far as like the writing of this goes, especially when compared to the Nun, and it adds to that kind of economic brisk feel of this movie is they don't get bogged down in all the esoteric Catholic stuff. We get the story about. True. I mean, they're pretty straightforward. This was the nail that was used on the crucifix, and we found the stuff. And then they don't get into all the weird, the overtold, blown stories, and because we had to have the setup for every different relic that they had to find, and like Nun 2 and stuff like that, which stretches that out. That's where it gets boring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're right. There's not like a big exposition dump anywhere.
Yeah.
Cool.
And those bathing scenes, guys. I mean,
okay. So here's the thing about those scenes, like,
Ariel, please.
Like, I don't have a problem with nudity in movies. I think the whole like discourse that's happening online about like no sex and no nudity in movies is like bizarre Hays Code bullshit, and I'm sick of hearing about it. So I don't have an issue with it. I thought it would be fun if they had taken like a modern take on that, exploitation genre. I did, however, make the grave error of looking up, like, I wanted to know what Sydney Sweeney had to say about those scenes, and then I accidentally read comments. I read comments, and then I went found some links, and I went down some like rabbit holes. And don't do it unless you want to hate every man you ever meet, because that's what it's gonna make you do.
Listen, Ariel, when you walk around as a man,
terrible.
You just have to accept a lot of what you're coming to grips with right now.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on.
It was
what? Because people were just like saying gross stuff in the comments.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Dude, you can't read internet comments. This is like,
well, no, I know. That's why I said it was an error. It was my bad, but I'm just saying, like, it was.
I'm not trying to blame you. Just to be
repugnant. Men are gross. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
God. Please don't paint the broad. All right, it's fine.
All right, I'm sorry, John. Not all men, not you guys. Internet trolling men are disgusting.
I think most is fair to say. All right. Would you recommend this, Casey?
Yes, I would.
Ariel,
Yeah, I actually would. I thought it was a lot of fun.
John.
Yes.
I'm also yes. I'm gonna put it on my top 10 list.
Ooh.
Stay tuned,
Hey,
John,
oh.
to find out where. We'll be right back.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back. I fully spent 3/4 of our conversation so far trying to remember, because I was looking at my list, and at number 5, well, I'm putting Immaculate at number 4.
Oh, wow.
So I've got Lisa Frankenstein, Love Lies Bleeding, ISS, kind of a banger. I think that's my sleeper hit of the year, honestly, ISS. And then Immaculate. And then number 5, which I've spent the last 40 minutes trying to remember, which is Monolith, which I'm pretty sure I saw like 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, it was like
Maybe
3
3.
weeks. Yeah.
I did remember it though. That's the podcasting movie.
Yeah. Correct.
Right, okay, got it. And then number 6, who could forget?
Night Swim. Yeah.
Yeah.
Formerly number 1.
Yeah, I'm
Formerly
shocked
number
it's
1, that's
still
right.
on your list.
Only
but
4 more movies to go, John, before it gets bumped off the list. Aren't you
Lisa
excited?
Frankenstein is number 1 is the correct answer.
So, all right, I'll give you my quick Lisa Frankenstein review because I watched it and I wasn't.
Okay.
You guys oversold it to me.
False.
I
No.
had a nice time. I had a nice time
It's
watching
lovely.
It's good. I was not I was like expecting to have like my mind altered about like
John.
horror as a genre,
No,
and
it's
I was
just a
just like,
sweet, fun
I don't know.
movie.
80s throwback.
Very stylish
It's
movie.
like modernized and
Yeah, it's fun.
It's about
I don't
feelings,
know.
John. You wouldn't
I-
get it.
think that is an egregiously terrible review of that
I
movie.
agree. That's my,
I
that's
I
my
don't
review of
know.
your review. Egregiously.
I just I don't know. I was look, like I'm not saying don't watch it. Like I probably would have been a yes.
So what's your number 1 right now?
probably this? Like I think Immaculate's the thing I've had the most fun watching so far this year.
Interesting.
Are you gonna put Love Lies Bleeding on your list?
Probably not.
Just out of principle?
Yeah.
So
It's
you're gonna
really,
make
really
me
good.
stand on this hill?
You can. No, I we'll see. We'll see how I feel at the end of the year. Guys, I'll tell you from the previews we've been getting
'Cause
over the
I'll
last
die
couple
on a hill,
weeks.
John. Have you met me?
I have. There's some really good looking movies coming. I finally got the Long Legs trailer, which I had not seen
Ooh,
before.
yeah,
Long
that
Legs
looks really good.
Real
Yeah,
good.
I was like, holy shit. Have you guys seen this movie Cuckoo? I'm kind of into, which
Mhm.
looks fucking weird.
Cuckoo
I
looks great.
think it's the guy who did Lose. Lose.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
was
it is.
fucking
It's the
weird.
same
one-
director.
Yeah.
Was it Long Legs that I texted you guys about in the
Yeah,
theater?
yeah. You texted about it. Yeah. And then there was another thing that I walked in right at the end of. Oh fuck! And I saw the like last minute of the trailer, and I was like, or not even. It was like 5 seconds of the trailer, and I was like, oh, what the hell? I'm gonna have to look up what it's
I'm
called.
trying to find
because-
Slack because somebody posted a trailer, or I posted it, but that was like I'm extremely excited about. Today was the Joker sequel, which actually I haven't seen the Joker, but the sequel looks like a lot of
So
fun.
I just watched Joker for the first time the other day. Didn't care for it.
Really?
Did not care for it.
I haven't
John.
seen it
Here's-
yet, but people keep telling me to watch
here's-
it.
Here's a movie we didn't fucking need. Like it's like it actually makes me like the Joker less as a character. Having seen
no.
it. Like it's just
Well, that's
whatever.
terrible.
John,
Yeah, it's not.
have you seen the Maxine trailer?
Yes, and I will
It
say
looks so good.
it looks
I'm
great.
so excited.
It's very different from what I was expecting. Like I just I didn't know what I was expecting, but it's not that. And
John Levi says John doesn't love fun or love.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah, I am yeah, in on it. Now I'm trying to find this upcoming movie, but
No, yeah, Maxine looks amazing. Sleazy Kevin Bacon, the cast alone.
yeah,
I
the
know,
cast is
and
What's
what's
really,
really
really
interesting
good.
is like I kind of always forget those first 2 movies were pandemic productions. Like he pitched them as that because they're both like isolated sets.
Yeah.
where you need like 10 actors or something that you can just have on scene, right? And like, I
Yep.
think they were shot at the same time.
Yeah, they did it back to back.
Yeah, because there was a trailer for Pearl. There was a little preview like right at the end of the first one. So this is his first chance to sort of like post-pandemic expand it. He's got all these crazy like the casting is nuts in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm crazy. I honestly, that feels like a thing that has a chance to be my number one.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh yeah.
Look, like I said, there's a lot of good stuff coming. Good luck to Night Swim. Stay on Eric's.
That'll never happen.
I already think this is a better year for horror than last year was.
Last year was
I
a
already
weird
have-
year for horror.
Yeah.
It just took a long time to get going this year. It felt.
Well, and I know the concern
was
this year was
bad.
like strike stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like there's a glut at all. It feels like, if anything, we're swimming and stuff right now.
Well,
You
we
might say
had
we're
the-
night swimming, John.
I
We
would
had
never
three-
say that, actually.
We're night swimming in horror.
I mean, we had 3 big releases when we were at Horror Home Weekend, just that
Yeah.
weekend alone. So it's like all of a sudden, it's the fire hose is open.
We've
true.
already missed a bunch of stuff too. Some of which we may not need to go back to. But important question. I assume we're covering Civil War this weekend.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
I
well-
really want to go back and watch The First Omen.
We need to get, I'm sure you have this on the list, Casey, but we need, we should do The First Omen, even if it has to be on video, although that just came out, so we probably have a couple weeks on that.
Yeah, Rachel and Matilda loved it, so I'm excited.
We're going to do
for
Late
that
Night
one.
with the Devil when that hits Shudder.
Yeah.
I feel like there was another one that we
Well,
lost
Abigail
in the
comes in
mix.
2 weeks. So we've
Yeah,
got
Abigail.
it's Civil War and Abigail are back to back the next 2 weeks in the theater.
And then
And we'll
we'll
give
Omen if we
an
can,
open
or
week.
not, if not,
Well,
that-
but it's sometime we'll end up covering Ghostbusters, I'm sure, as a filler.
Ghostbusters. We'll get to all this stuff. It was just like a random burst of stuff in March that kind of got on top
Yeah.
of us.
Can I put you all on the spot on a decision that I think I've made for myself? But are we watching Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
Yes.
Sure.
I'm a no.
Really?
I think it looks terrible.
Interesting.
It's also like we've got plenty of horror movies to fill this slate. So
we could make
I'm
it a
sort of
judgment
like-
call, or we
We
could
can
wait-
save,
we
we
can
could
watch
save it for an open weekend video.
I'm going to watch it
I'm-
regardless. I'm excited.
Well, I was
for
going
it.
to say I'm not saying don't see it, Casey. Like you
I
can
assume it's
certainly
not
go.
Matt Reeves anymore, right? Didn't
No,
Reeves do those
you
originals?
two are the ones that don't watch movies unless we're doing them for the shows. I'm good.
I watched Joker this week. Come on.
Casey, Vanderpump Rules is not going to watch itself.
Fair.
Was Matt Reeves that original Apes trilogy?
Yeah,
But he's on to other stuff now, right? Like he's doing all these Godzilla movies and shit.
I think
no,
so.
he's doing. Isn't he doing Batman right now?
Who's doing the new Apes movies? My question is it someone?
It's the new one is Wes Ball,
Okay,
who
that
I
is-
recognize that name. Oh, he did the Maze Runner movies.
Yeah, I know there's a time jump too.
Yeah, I guess I'm
It's
feeling
well,
less-
yeah, it's set like
It's now
we're
we're now
now-
in the original series sort of area where the people
Nah.
are
we're
primitive.
pre-original series. Like
They still
this
hadn't
is-
fully evolved into the
yeah.
ape people.
This is a different universe, though, right? Or am I to understand that this is in the original Planet of the Apes universe?
They showed the rocket launch of the crew from the original Planet of the Apes in the first movie, and there was talk of it. I
Yeah.
think,
Interesting. Okay, that's interesting then.
yeah.
Dr. Zaius.
Always makes me think of the Simpsons musical.
Yeah.
If
I mean,
Joey
Casey
was singing
Casey
it.
sings it to us multiple times a year. So.
All right, let's get on social media, Casey. What do we got?
All right, we got one on Threads today. It's from our longtime friend, the drummer from Foghat. Is hell just filled with heavy metal, lasers, drag races, weed, and all things fucking sweet?
I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I hope so if I'm going there. That would be nice, but otherwise, maybe
Carol,
not.
this is getting dark. I mean, all of a sudden.
It's going to be that, but all the lines to the bathroom are going to be like miles long.
Oh God, no! Forget it. I'm going to heaven.
And that's it for Threads.
Quick, like it.
Yeah. Short and to the point.
One email this week from who do you think it's from, John?
Caitlin, our old bud.
Caitlin and Kissimmee. I'm officially on my 7th listen through the BGH classics.
Oh Lord.
So that's how many are in the drive. It doesn't. I don't know how current it is.
We haven't updated maybe since like it's probably like 100 episodes, honestly. 'Cause I
So
was
that's at
looking at
least 650 or something.
Yeah,
now,
there's
7 times
over
over.
6. I think there's
Wow.
650. Yeah.
I know it sounds crazy, but it has really become comfort food listening for me. I hear different movies that you guys suggest in passing, quote, added to the list, and I go and look them up, and I found some really cool nostalgia stuff from listening so much. Have y'all ever actually watched Mondo Keyhole, Casey's famous Mondo Keyhole flub? I have it saved, though it sounds horrible.
The Mondoki hole.
I forgot about Mundoki Hole. For the record, and I don't know if this is still true. I hope it's not. That was our
Oh, that was our password for everything for
many
years.
days.
Yeah.
It's not anymore.
No, we changed it. I'm pretty sure.
Thank
We had to lock
you-
out Mark. No.
Yeah, that's right. We had to kick Joe and Mark out. Thank you all for keeping it going. Rachel is an amazing addition, and though I'm not a huge fan of horror movie norms now, I'm finding more and more enjoyment listening to someone who really does, which I think is more valuable than me hating on a movie that's not for me.
I like
Thanks
that.
again, Caitlin and Kissimmee.
Yeah.
We got a bunch of good stuff on Instagram. First up, from our old friend Joe of the Suburbs. Remember Joe, John? He says, quote,
I do.
I've been told I have the face of an angel and a body built for sin. That's not really a question, though. Sorry.
He's so funny.
Love it.
Oh God, the movie I'm thinking of, just really quick. I think it's called The Animal Kingdom. Did you guys see this trailer?
No, I don't think I got that one.
It's a French movie. It looks like. Anyway, sorry. Continue, Eric.
First up from Chris, who would win in a fight, Immaculate Nun or the nun from the Blues Brothers? My answer was Nuns on the Run, always, which is a British movie where two guys escape prison and then pretend to be nuns.
I have seen that.
It was just one of
I
those
think
HBO
that was
things.
That was
Like, if you
that
had-
was an HBO watch.
If you had
exactly.
HBO, you saw it 400 times as a kid.
Yeah.
Will you catch the first Omen soon?
I hope
think
so.
The answer is yes. Yeah, at some point. I just can't. Some of these people have names I can read. Some of them do not. What would be? I don't know. I can't answer that. Next up, Levi. Do you guys think they could have squeezed another shot of Sydney Sweeney's boobs in?
It would have been hard. For
I've
us to
seen
do
her in
it.
a bunch of stuff. This felt pretty restrained, if I'm being honest. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
even with
I don't
the
know if we-
baths. Like have you
I don't know
seen
if we needed
Euphoria?
the.
I haven't seen Euphoria.
Yeah, I don't know that this
It's-
movie
it's
needed
crazy.
the shot of her taking a tinkle.
That's like one of the most chaste scenes.
It's just nature, Casey. I do it for every show. Amy says, "Did you laugh at the moment? Or sorry, did you laugh at the amount of door creaking in this movie?" I actually didn't notice. Although, listen, the building's old, so that actually makes,
It tracks.
I
Structural
felt like
sense.
there was a lot of just like Foley noise that got added in, and maybe it was just like my theater, but it was very loud.
Yeah, it was for
but-
me too. I think they were trying to like add more tension and scares,
Yeah.
and
Oh
they
yeah.
tried to do it with the sound. I don't think it's like 100% effective, but
Yeah.
Next up, Straight Chilling Podcast. If you didn't already have a nun kink, do you have one now? I didn't really spend time around nuns when I was a kid, so even though I was like, I'm a lapsed Catholic, I never really got the nun thing. It's not really my thing, John.
Look, I mean,
They always just
I
seem
don't know
old
anything
and
about
mean.
nuns, but like, there's not a lot of nuns that look like Sydney Sweeney and
Yeah.
the some of the other
Yes,
younger
I've
never
nuns
seen
that
a
are
nun in my
working
life
this
that looks like
convent.
Sydney Sweeney.
I've met a
Yeah.
lot. I've met a lot of nuns in my life, which is surprising.
That's
'cause
right.
I'm
You
a
went to
Methodist.
like a nun school, right?
Yeah,
Like yeah.
They're all old.
right. Yeah, I mean, I grew up around a lot of nuns, not because I'm religious, because my parents were like liberation theology activists, and so
Interesting.
they worked with a lot of nuns. But yeah, they were all older for
You,
sure.
you didn't come across a Sydney Sweeney in your
No,
Oh.
no.
I have been to a nun nursing home, by the way, a couple times.
Did other nuns work there? Like, was it basically
Yeah.
like, staffed by
It's-
other nuns? Oh, okay.
It's at the convent at St. Mary's.
Yeah, the nuns keep taking care of the older nuns.
Did you
and
look in the
they
back
often
room,
have to
Casey,
work
to see
pay
if there
for
was
that.
any like genetic science stuff happening?
No, I didn't.
Any
I-
cloning going on?
Any dimly lit genetic labs?
Did they
I
have
ended,
a
I
piece
ended up
of the
watching
original
Notre Dame
cross?
football with them, so I didn't get to see that stuff.
2 more questions, and I use that word lightly. First up from Roger: what are the odds Schnorrs uses "immaculate" as a word of the day?
Come on, Roger. Come on.
He came with it this week. I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Last question from This Is Chris. This is so good. Why does my fiance hate Sydney Sweeney? Is it because she's perfect? Question mark. Oh, sir.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't say that out loud. In front
I
of Beyonce.
mean,
You'll be
my
fine.
response to him on Instagram was like, "This sounds like your fault." Love it. All right, John. I assume by at this point you've listened to my new album, right?
It's queued up next in my spot.
Oh, you were about to do it? Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
right before the show. And
Why
then,
rush?
you know,
It's only been
yeah.
out for 3 weeks. You know,
I'll dip in.
if you like synthwave, please go to Spotify. Look for Hi-Fi HY-FY. I have a new EP out. It has 5 tracks on it. John loves every single one of them, and you should check it out. Thank you in advance. Also follow me, Eric BGH, on Instagram if you want to know more about what I do. What about you, Casey? Where are you at?
I'm on Instagram and Threads these days, cinema.fromage on both. So I'm enjoying the heck out of both, but you'll get a lot of my drawing and stuff on Instagram if that's your thing. Check it out.
Ariel?
Yeah, I'm from the Zombie Girls, GRRLZ. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, or you can look up More Deadly. That's the podcast that Rachel and I do about horror movies directed by women-identified directors. We have an episode coming out actually about Lisa Frankenstein that is coming up next. We loved it, so
Hey, look, to each their own.
yeah. And you can find us at ZG Podcasts on basically every social media platform you can think of. So
Love it. John, where can people find you? And you might as well, you're not on the internet, so you want to just give your address out?
I mean, if you come hang out in the East 90s, I am walking around a lot these days.
Central Park?
It's getting very
Impromptu meetup?
nice. So there's like a coffee bar that's a couple blocks away that I can sit outside and just, get some
There
work
you go.
done maybe.
Now you know where John
Yeah.
is.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. All right. Don't forget to join us on Patreon, patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror. We've had a lot of great interaction in the YouTube chat lately, which I love in the live stream, because then we can like answer questions in real time, which is always really nice. So the more the merrier. Join in. All right, everyone. That's going to do it. Hope you enjoy the show. We'll talk to you next week.
See you.
bye.
Bye-bye.